This episode is brought to you by our Lord and Savior, Immortan Joe. Join the War Boys today. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Podcast Assemble, the show where you come for your rambling geeky download. My name's Tommy, and I am delighted, as always, to be joined by our resident war boy of the podcast. That's wrong, isn't it? That's not how I do it. How do I do this?
That was correct.
No, it wasn't.
War boy.
Well,
usually you make fun of me.
My co-host and friend.
From across the pond.
Yes, all of those things, but you are also a war boy today.
That's what you say.
How are you, mate?
Good, man. War boys are the guys that
War
like...
boy.
War boys are the guys that
Warble.
like take a bunch of meth and then... Like,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're
The
calling
white
me a
ones.
drug addict, basically.
Yeah, basically.
A white drug addict.
Yeah. I mean...
white trash.
If the glove fits, OJ.
OJ? He's black.
Well, the glove didn't fit.
Oh, the glove. Sorry. I'm slow today, bud.
This took on a really weird turn really early.
We
How
might wanna
are
audible
you,
that.
buddy? We are storming towards 150 episodes, and
I know.
I'm so excited for next week.
I'm feeling a bit rusty, to be fair.
I was going to say, we're both rusty.
It's
I
been
was
a
back
bit.
last week, and I'm still not sure how I do the intro.
Yeah. No, I'm good, dude. I mean, there's so much to talk about.
So
Where do
much
we
to talk
begin?
about. Well, today we're going to be talking about a bit of a Furiosa and Mad Max Saga,
Yes, we are.
which was a film.
It was a film.
I didn't quite enjoy it, actually.
No, I think it was good. I mean, Mad Max Saga, like, I didn't realize it's all the same director.
Yeah.
I had no
yeah,
idea.
George
Like,
Miller.
the whole entire thing.
Oh, my God. And the gulfing quality between the original ones to now.
Well, I
is
mean,
like-
yeah, because it's older. but
it's so big.
I had no idea. I was like, oh, what is this George Miller guy done? And then I was like, all Mad Max stuff.
And then you were like, he's done Babe.
Yeah, I was
2.
going to say,
he's done
and
Happy
a couple happy animal movies.
For some
Like,
reason.
he needed like a break from this depressing atmosphere
War-torn
of world. Yeah, like,
Fair
it
enough.
makes sense.
Oh, man. How is the jet lag?
It's good. I'm just like sleeping in.
Yeah, right.
Is that what I'm supposed to do?
I don't know.
Is that what happened to you?
Well, I'm pretty good at getting up early anyway. My body clock's just set to early.
Usually I am too, but
But like I would fall asleep usually about 3 p.m. and be like, I need a nap. Oh my God. I was on a call with work on like maybe the Thursday after we got back on the Saturday. And I was kind of doing all right to that point, but I was on a call and one of my colleagues has this quite like deep melodic voice.
that'll put you to sleep for sure.
And my God,
Yeah.
I was like 50 minutes into this call, I was like, I gotta take a nap. I gotta lie down.
Yeah.
And then I woke up and the call was still running and everyone had dropped off.
Wait, so
No
you just had
one
no
shall be named.
You had no camera on.
I obviously turned the camera off immediately.
yeah.
I was like, just turn my camera off now, guys. You don't need me for this.
Fair enough.
Luckily, I'd heard all the content like 1,000 times before, so it was like, it was fine.
Yeah,
it
it
was
worked
absolutely
out.
fine. And no names shall be named. But you're surviving.
I'm surviving. I mean, like, I'm just getting up late. Like, I got up at like 10 today, which is like pretty late for me.
Wait, we haven't really even like prefaced why you're jet lagged. You're back
yeah.
from
I
your-
mean, like Prague, Greece, Maldives,
You're
Italy.
back from your honeymoon,
we've
baby.
done it all. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, the last time I was here was when we were departing for our wedding. So not our wedding, but Dale and I's wedding.
I was really trying.
I knew you were waiting. Yeah.
I was waiting for you to
Yeah.
get down on one knee. In fact, I was waiting because there was a pool
Even-
right behind
even
where you're getting married. I thought I was
at
going to
the
push
aisle.
Gail into it.
Yeah. That would have been nice on the drone footage.
I honestly
Fucking
can't remember
drone.
if I made this joke on when I caught it with Reegs last week, but I, honest to God, must have so many candid photos from your wedding photographer. And let me tell you why,
What do you
because
mean?
this is hilarious.
Oh, you mean the actual guy?
the actual
Yeah,
photographer
yeah.
on the day. So, long story short, for anyone who doesn't know, we live in Australia and we flew over to Prague for your book's stag
It was
bachelor,
quite
whatever
a
you call
little
it.
traveling bonanza.
25 hours on a plane.
Yeah.
Touchdown, straight into your stag do.
Straight into the meat factory.
Straight into it. And it
Yeah.
was 2 days of pretty intense drinking. From there,
Yeah.
fly directly over to Greece. I didn't get there until 2 a.m. So, like,
Oh,
our flight
God.
got delayed when we were in the airport. So, I
You
got
didn't
there-
get to Crete until 2 a.m.?
Yeah.
That's a nightmare.
It was absolutely not.
How did you get a
after the drinking-
cab?
Mate? Well, really luckily, one of your good buddies, Tim, friend of the show, Tim, and one of the GRFs, shout out to our GRF buddies, was, he already had a taxi. His partner had organized a taxi for him. And
smart.
we managed to talk the guy into giving him an extra like 20 euros or something, and he took me with him. But arrive at 2 a.m. And by this point, my body's already a bit tired.
A bit.
A little bit tired.
I was a shell.
And then we obviously were helping with the wedding stuff, and we had to do the rehearsal and etc. And then by the time the day came, my body just kind of went like, nah.
I mean, dude, I was like literally couldn't even talk.
Yeah, right.
And I had to like literally not speak for the 2 to 3 days after the Bucks so that I would have a voice by the time that welcome event happened. Because obviously I can't show up there not being able to talk.
Of course, you've got to be able to
So I
chat.
was in full recovery mode, like 3 teas a day for, that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Well, I had a little sniffle, so my nose was like full running, and like I put my shades on so the photographer couldn't see my face. But I think he thought I was crying all the key moments.
Oh, so he kept snapping.
Like,
that was your point. Yeah,
kept
snapping photos,
swinging around, and like when it was like an emotional moment, he'd be like.
It's like, no, you're just allergic to everything. No, I got sick after. I got sick in Greece for a bit, for like a day.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, your body was
after
ready.
Crete, sorry, I should say.
Yeah. After Crete. Man, Crete was amazing.
Yeah, I want to go back. I didn't see enough of it.
Beautiful place.
Yeah.
There's so much on the other side of the island to
everything. There's we only saw one little area, but it's beautiful. It's a big place. It's like the only one of those Greek islands where you don't just rent a moped or an ATV. You have to get an actual car.
You got to get a car.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Are you a bit of a Greek history nerd?
I did a lot of reading in preparation.
Yeah, I bet you did.
My entire Netflix queue on the flight in was just like ancient Greece stuff. So
amazing.
Yeah. But about the Minoans, the old, what is it, the Phoenicians that followed them, and
you're gonna have to send me all those things because
Greek
I was more
city-states.
focused on like the mythology side of it. So
I did that too. I had Mythos by that English guy.
How weird is the Zeus mythology?
Like, I mean, there's a lot. Like you have to be specific.
Just leading up to him being born is fucking weird.
Yeah, they're all like killing each other, like cutting dicks off and the blood spouts.
Kronos.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah.
All of this, I think, was expanded upon in the God of War trilogy, the first trilogy, the OG ones.
Yeah.
But I don't remember ever really realizing how weird it all sounded at the time.
Well, like Kronos was the one that like spawns Zeus or something in secret, right?
So,
or something. And he actually is born on Crete. They hide him away in Crete where they like make...
Kronos is his father.
Yeah,
and
Kronos
is killing all of his sons because he heard there was a prophecy
and
that one of his sons would kill him.
She hides one, I mean.
So it's super, but even how they get to that stage, like Kronos' mother is the world, the Earth.
Yeah, she's the Earth,
and the father,
and he's like the
sky.
Yeah, and they meet each other every night or after a night, and that's when they make love.
Now tell me something.
Make love.
Tell me something. How many of these stories do you reckon were made up while they were all on shrooms?
I don't know if they were on shrooms, but they were definitely
some sort of psychedelics.
I don't know. I think they're just like, the sky. They just made shit up, dude. They had imagination. There wasn't a lot of stuff going on.
There was a lot of imagination.
You had to have an imagination.
Well, they didn't have their iPhones, did they?
There was nothing.
The battery had died.
They didn't even have
iPhone.
language, dude. They had to make things up, or written language, I should say.
Oh, amazing. Well, look, guys. There will be time codes in the description. If you want to hear us continue bantering about our weeks, please feel free to stick around. Matt Bliss of Blistery.fm, who is the podcasting master, will have supplied them as always. And question for you, DL. On a scale of 1 to 5, how great is our initial banter this week?
Oh, it's probably pretty bad, to be honest, but doesn't mean
people tune in for that one bit and then tune out.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you can't give us 5 stars.
Please give us 5 stars. We really appreciate if you do. It really helps with algorithms, stuff like that. Stuff we don't really understand. And if you know someone who would like this, please pass the pod on to them. That would do us the world of good because new listeners is what we need. DL.
Yes.
What have you been up to with all this time you've had?
I've done
you have a lot of time.
I mean, like I've had a lot of time, but not a lot of time to watch things. Like a lot of free time in the sense that I wasn't working. I was just enjoying life. Look, I've been doing a few things, and one of which I got a bit of a bone to pick with you, man. 3-body problem is not as terrible as you made it out to be.
I never said terrible. I said dull.
We definitely have receipts here. You are down on it. Look, I get where you're coming from like the perspective of a couple characters and a couple moments, but none of them were like that at the forefront of the story that it took me out of it. They were kind of like peripheral. Like all of the characters. Like the whole romance between the black scientist and the super hot like South
Lady
American
scientist.
one. Yeah. Like that was like barely a thing. And I just like was able to like because the core characters I liked were at the core of the story.
Who
which
were the
is
core characters?
The Wong.
Really, you liked Wong in this? Okay, cool.
You didn't like Wong? No, loved Wong.
And I know
loved Wong.
I know you love a good Wong.
Loved Liam, whatever his name is from. Isn't his name Liam? The Davos.
Oh, Davros. Yeah.
Davros.
Davos.
Davos.
Well, one of the two.
Yeah, Davos Seaworth.
Okay. All right, Onion Knight, calm down.
Loved him.
Calm down,
He's a big
nerd.
part of it, and he seems like he's going to continue to be because he's going to like freeze himself.
You liked him in this. I didn't like him in this.
And then I liked the main kind of, I don't know if she's a villain or how you want to, the gray character from China.
That person I really enjoyed.
She was really good. And they were probably the main, minus the New Zealand scientist, which she was
like the main character.
She was all right. She was towards the back half. She was the main character. Yeah. For sure. I enjoyed them enough, and they were like the bulk of the story, but I understand your complaints. The coolest part though is just the premise. The premise is phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, let's recontextualize.
It's very unique.
Let's recontextualize.
I haven't seen the ending, by the way. I have one episode.
It's fine. I'm not going to talk about the ending. I like the premise of it and the whole and how it all plays out in terms of from the 60s. I think it was. It started.
Yeah, it's like a two timeline situation.
Yeah, the early timeline and the premise of what happens in the newer timeline is actually quite interesting. Like, I'll give it that. I just don't think any of it's executed well. I feel like they've picked their friends, and their friends are just not really into the job. And then they've got like these people who are like way too attractive to be where they are in life. The black dude is like a super hot black scientist dude. And you're like, no, you don't even look tired. And then the chick is just like too many fillers.
Those two are like the least believable for sure.
I'll tell you the one I really like, the dude who has cancer in it.
Yeah, he was really good.
And
he actually is quite involved towards the end.
And he picks up, and I like that character. That was the only one I really liked. But I just don't like. You'll watch the final episode, and you'll see why I was frustrated with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a bit of a tease, but
and also none of these characters were in the actual book. These are all
they
made up.
They did an adaptation in the way that
not
like
an adaptation.
No,
they just rewritten it.
It is an adaptation. I mean, like by definition, it's an adaptation.
They've taken the title, if that helps.
They did an adaptation whereby they like totally diversified the cast and made like one character like four.
They've chucked in a bunch of POV characters for us Westerners.
They also wanted they needed to Westernize it a bit. I think.
Because it was all. I think the book is even in Mandarin, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why they did a bit of that. I haven't read the book, so I can't comment on like how well it was done. But it does feel like some of those are filler.
Now, I don't remember if I told you not to go and watch this, which is dumb because you went and watched it anyway.
You definitely did, but I would have watched it.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
It's probably what I said.
I was always going to watch it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I was always going to watch it.
Because you like D&D.
Well, I'm intrigued by that.
You like D and Wong.
I'm intrigued by D&D, and I definitely like Wong. You can quote me on that.
So would you recommend it to the point you're up to?
Yeah.
And we have different opinion. I think that's great. That's what I like in life.
I would recommend it because of the like sci-fi, the high sci-fi concepts are super unique.
Yeah.
And I hear it only gets crazier.
Well, I mean, hopefully the next season's going to be wild.
Like in terms of like...
If it gets a second season.
It's been confirmed.
Has it? Okay, good.
Yeah. In terms of like it's not an easy read apparently. Like apparently this guy was... The writer was pretty in-depth scientific, his background was pretty engineering heavy and science heavy or physicist heavy. I don't know. And he basically deals with some pretty out there grounded in reality.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Grounded in reality concepts that are like not, you can't just read, you kind of got to look stuff up to really understand them. So I'm excited, like some multi-dimension stuff.
So you have to do reading on top of your reading.
Yes.
I'm a nerd, but I'm not that fucking nerd.
No, I'm down. Give it to me.
You are. You bloody love it.
Give it to me.
Okay, well, speaking of books then, I might as well jump into a book that I read while I was away.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be very high level like this because I know you haven't even read it yet, and I'm going to give you it. So this book is called The Will of the Many, and it is an absolute fucking unit of a book. It is so thick.
Dude, I keep doing thick books. I need a quick read.
Well, I know you like thick. So
yeah, I do. I do like those
you like them thick.
Wong was looking extra thick in this, bro.
He is like a unit. I think he just has I think he's got a big frame.
No, he's just a unit, dude.
He's got a big frame.
Yeah.
He's a good look. He's good.
Pacific Islander? What is he?
Good looking bloke. I think is he British? I literally have no idea. He's British.
But
his accent is bad. But this is a thick boy, and
I don't think you've ever given anyone a compliment on an accent.
Partner brought I'm going to skip past this. My partner brought this over in her luggage suitcase, and she was really pissed off at how big it was. So it arrived the day after I left, and obviously she came like 2 days after me. So she was fuming.
Why do girls care so much about this stuff?
And the weird thing was, she took a tiny little suitcase, and I had a massive one. I was like, "Why don't you just put it in your bag and put it in mine?"
I've never seen my partner more stressed than when we're packing for any kind of international flight where there's any kind of luggage limit. It's like I never thought about that until I had this partner, and it's like she will literally stress about it for days.
Wow,
like plan what things where, what we need to get rid of, what things we might need to leave. I'm like, dude, I mean, for the
there's too much thinking here.
For the ride back with all the wedding stuff, yeah, that made like we had to kind of think about it. But like, this is a typical flight for us. Any kind of flight. It's like, well, how much kilos do you have? I don't think about that. I just pack and pray.
Pack and go.
Yeah, usually I'm fine.
To be fair though, the challenge we had with the holiday we've been on was it was every weather.
Yeah,
it's like
you
going
had
to
to
Melbourne. we went.
You had to bring every kind of attire. Yeah.
Sun, rain,
cold,
all the cold in Italy. It
ocean,
was like wild,
but also like linen style.
Right. So
you had to be diverse.
Had a lot of things,
Yeah.
but well, she fit it in her bag eventually after complaining about it for like 15 hours.
Okay.
And it's called The Will of the Many. So it's 2023. And this is every fucker's favorite book on social right now. Absolutely.
Wait, he just released
everybody.
Or she?
2023. Yeah, it's he. Hang on.
Yeah.
It's written by James Islington, whichever it is. It's one of the
Islington.
two. It's got 4.6 on Goodreads out of 5. It's got a 4.7 on Amazon.com. Look, it's like I say, it's everyone's favorite book on social right now, and even your favorite Book Review Kills is all over this. And I'm just going to talk very high level about it because I think you really should read it. It's really interesting because we've been talking a lot the last couple of weeks about Red Rising. You really liked all of that series. I need to get the third one off you. And this also has a futuristic world with heavy Roman-inspired cultural themes throughout it, which is kind of interesting considering how similarly parallel they are. And it doesn't seem like James Islington's, really had much influence from it because it is very different. And I guess the things I would call out is that people are saying this is in their top 5 books of all time. Absolutely not. It's good. It's very good. It's not a top 5 books of all time. And no matter how much it really tries to hide it, it definitely has a few of those YA tropes, just sprinkled throughout. For example, like the main character's a bit of a Gary Sue. He kind of gets out of situations and you're like, you probably should be dead. The world is really cool. The magic in it's really interesting. I'm going to let you explore that yourself because it's a really different. The magic's so different in this. Like it's not
so
like
it's high fantasy.
High fantasy, yeah. Futuristic setting. It's good. It's not better than Red Rising.
35,000 ratings. That's a lot.
Yes, but it's like blown up on like TikTok and stuff. Like people are loving this. Like they're all over it. So everyone's talking about it. I think you like it. The interesting thing I found about this book was, and I don't want to say too much about this, was by the end of it, like the pacing's a little bit wild. The pacing goes up and down quite a lot. And then it gets to the very end, and then the ending just goes nuts.
Too much?
You will reread the ending at least twice, just because I think you come back to me. Come back to me when you've got through the tome. I'm intrigued to know your thoughts. I would highly recommend the book to anyone who is into high fantasy. If you like the Red Rising books, this is definitely something for you. Don't expect it to be as good or like the same, but it's good. I'll give you that recommendation.
Love that.
Come back next time.
Yeah, I mean, give me I take free books. I take them.
You can have it. It's the partner's still moaning about how big it is on our bookshelf.
Okay, so. Well, it's coming to mind then, and I'll take those moans my way. Brilliant. You still haven't read The Morning Star. I forgot about that. You got to finish that.
You've got it at your house. I know.
Yeah, I'll bring it next time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. What, you got anything else? Another reco?
I did read another Joe Nesbo book, which is
Joe Nesbo.
We talked about him in the past. Joe Nesbo. He's like a Norwegian crime writer, thriller writer, and it's one of these writers like he's got a pretty famous one called The Snowman that I think they made a movie about.
Okay.
With who's the guy that plays Magneto Young?
Who's the guy?
Magneto Young.
McAvoy.
Yeah.
Stewart. I don't know.
No. Magneto Young.
Oh, Magneto. I got that confused, didn't I?
Yeah. No, you know who I'm talking about.
James something.
He's English.
Fassbender. Michael Fassbender.
Yeah. Michael Fassbender.
God, that's good podcasting, isn't it?
Yeah.
This guy. Who are we talking about?
He stars in it. Apparently the movie is really bad, but the books are always really good. But like the last couple ones I've read, I'm like halfway through, I'm like, God, this is so mediocre. But I got
it's not the Snowman from like 1986, is it? I'm walking in the air.
No, not that one. No, it's much more recent.
1982. I'm kidding, of course.
But point being, I get like 50% through. I'm like, man, this guy is so average.
5.2 on IMDb.
Yeah,
wow.
No, I don't think they adapted it well. But I'm like, this guy's so average. And then every time, like, I hit like the 80%, and there's like one twist that's like really good.
Yeah. Right.
And I forgive everything else. But all my complaints are valid still, but I always forget about them because I'm like, all right, that was a pretty good twist.
That was a
good
cool
ending.
Yeah.
Like, works, all right. But like, every time I have this same roller coaster ride with this author. But so I don't know if that's a recommendation that's strong, but I read another one, and it was,
what was the new one called?
It was called The Knife.
The Knife.
The Knife.
He likes the titles, doesn't he? The something.
The bat. The snowman. The
right.
knife.
What's the knife? What happens in the
cockroach.
Knife?
I mean, those are like, I just named like 4 of them. What happens in it? It's another Harry Hole detective thriller. I don't want to give any spoilers, but there's a murder. You got to figure out who did it. Like it's one of those.
The murder.
It's one of those kind of like, writers. Like that's like obviously a huge genre.
That's the draw of it.
Yeah,
and my brother likes those types of books.
And like there's a lot of bad writers in that. He's pretty good, but one thing I like about this genre is more when it's like noir,
right.
And this is not very noir because it's like a Norwegian guy.
Is it thriller?
I mean, like it's mystery thriller, but this one's less thrillery. This one, he was in his head a lot, the guy, because it's a lot of I don't want to spoil it, but it's about more someone closer to home to him.
Okay.
So it's like it's not as like traditional. It's a little bit more like you can't just pick this one up as the first one. You kind of want some of the context.
So if you're into crime books, if you're into
crime books, I would read his earlier stuff, any of his earlier Joe Nesbo books,
right. But not this one.
No, you could, but it wouldn't start with this one.
Okay,
wouldn't start with it.
Which would you start with? The Cockroach?
Any of them other than this one.
Okay.
All the ones I've read outside of this one are similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting recommendation. I got one last recommendation for you before we move on. I finally finished The Gentleman on Netflix, the TV show.
I haven't seen the back half, but
you haven't seen the back half?
No, I want.
Oh my god!
I'm excited. I didn't want to do that one on a plane for some reason. I liked watching that in the comfort of my.
We finished it before we.
Yeah, I liked watching it in the comfort of my like living room with a whisky.
It's got.
I don't know, something about that vibe.
Yeah,
I like see it. I'm like, fuck. I wish I had a cigar and a
Maybe
whiskey.
they're always drinking. That's probably what it is. Yeah. I really liked it. I really liked the worlds they built. I liked the expansion of the world from the movie because I think it's technically set in the same universe.
Nice.
Really fun.
It is. Yeah, it's actually the same. Like, it's like a follow-on, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the same universe. One of those. Almost like the movie we're going to be talking about today sort of type thing. I don't want to spoil anything for you because you haven't seen it. I thought the ending was going to be more twisty than it was. Okay. Saying no more.
Guy Ritchie tends to do that.
Is known for his big twists, his, flipping around in time, going back and being like, oh, well, this person was actually doing this.
Yeah,
you didn't see this.
Billy Big Dick was over here.
Exactly. But it didn't take away from the fact the characters were super interesting. The Guy Ritchie storytelling is still something that I really love when he gets it right. Yeah. Obviously, when he does a Madonna film, it's bad. But when he does like this, it's just great. It's a lot of fun. I really like the main guy, even though for some reason I thought he was going to annoy me in this. The brother is like great. I wish he was in it more. Good story. Good fun.
Nice.
You should totes finish it.
I'm going to finish it for sure. I just like I like the main 3 actors a lot.
Yes.
Like the brother, the main guy, and the like chick that's also the female that's like the head of the organization.
Agreed.
Or like the daughter.
And the guy, Ray Winston, who's her father, is like a classic British actor.
He's perfect.
He's so good.
I've only seen him once so far.
I've seen him in so many shit things.
No, I just mean like in this show.
Yeah,
and he's just like eating like a perfect.
Oh, the steak episode.
Cut of meat.
Yeah. Giancarlo Esposito, underutilized in this show.
Who's that?
He is. You do this every time. He's the guy who was in Breaking Bad. He was in one of the Fallout 6, I think.
That guy. I get bored of him.
No, I love him. Love him.
He plays like the same guy every time.
Give me more.
Doesn't he though? Like the refined guy that like acts super refined, but is like, I am brutal behind the scenes.
Don't ruin Giancarlo Esposito.
But he
for me.
is. He's either
spoil him for me.
He's like the CEO founder in The Boys, who's like super put together, clean cut, but is ruthless behind the scenes.
Why?
He's the same thing in Breaking Bad. He's the same thing in this.
Why?
Play a different character.
Why break him
dude?
for me? I've never seen Breaking Bad all the way through, so that's one of the things that people fucking hate me for. Come at me in the comments. I get it. Guys, I recommend highly going and checking away all the stuff we've talked about today. If you like crime, if you like books that are high fantasy, if you like good TV shows on Netflix, go check them out. But also send us your things. Send us things we should watch. We love it when you do. You can find us at podcastassemble or thepodcastassemble@gmail.com. Or we are also on our website, www.podcastassemble.com, where I'm still loving our rebrand. Like I keep looking at it and going, I love it. It's great. We're only like 4 weeks in or so, 6 weeks in. I'm like,
it's much better.
I love it.
It looked pretty rudimentary. I mean, I know you put your hard work into it. Blood, sweat, and tears. But it's a lot better.
It's
a lot better.
It's project yourself where you want to be, and I feel like it's project yourselves as an actual podcast.
Yes, that is fair.
Send us memes, guys. Send us news. Send us reviews. We love it when you do. I actually got called out by friend of the show and Film Addicts podcast co-host, Addy, for my views on last week's show. Now, you obviously missed this, DL, but we, on the run-up to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes coming out, we did all of the Planet of the Apes movies. And he called me out because I was actually quite down on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I thought there was a lot of missed potential in that movie. You know me. You know I like to pick at threads.
Yes.
And he disagreed with... it's great. He sent me a couple of messages. He said he disagreed with my thoughts on the movie, which is absolutely fine. He was very interested in seeing where the Caesar stuff went, move forward. And I said... I think I'd said this on the podcast, but I actually thought the first Planet of the Apes movie, was it Dawn? No, Rise. Rise of the Planet of the Apes was the best of the initial trilogy. And he disregarded that and said he actually thinks the second one's in the ways that Caesar character evolves and effectively becomes his own worst enemy, becoming more like Cobra, is where his journey really peaks. And yeah, I completely agree with you, friend of the show, Addy. And, you know, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone has one, and mine isn't necessarily the best ones.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, having seen,
we love it when you guys
asshole.
send us that. Whoa! What?
Maybe cut that.
When was this?
I don't know. Prague was crazy, buddy.
You were too drunk to see anything, guys. We love it when you send us all that stuff. We will absolutely call you out on the pod. DL,
yes.
Do you want to preface our main topic this week?
It's the main topic theme.
Yeah, of course, man. This week, as we've kind of hinted at or talked, maybe you even said, we are talking about Furiosa, out in theaters now, a Mad Max Saga.
We absolutely are. We're going to do non-spoilers and then spoilers. But before we do, DL, do you have a stupid plot summary for me, my dude?
I do. Let me get to it.
Mine are getting worse at the minute. I think I've lost my edge with stupid plot summaries.
I mean, you know, some are easy, some are hard. Some come
good
straight
film,
to you,
hard
some don't.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, this one, like, we'll see. Live from the Wasteland, the American South, little girl survives multiple potential sexual assault situations while miraculously hiding her gender during her pee breaks, working on the docks at basically slave labor wages.
To work on the docks.
All in the name of ultimately becoming the best truck driver this side of the Wasteland.
I applaud you, my friend. That is way better than anything I had.
I mean, that's the upside in the Wasteland.
That was
you
one
become
of my
a truck
questions.
driver, dude.
Right. That's the best thing you can hope for.
Yeah.
How did she hide it for so many? We're
that
getting
is
too
the
far ahead of ourselves.
biggest plot hole, but whatever.
I just have the story of how not Charlize Theron loses her arm. How do you iterate on a nigh-on perfect movie? With difficulty. That's all I have. So you mentioned this is from director George Miller, who is the renowned director of Happy Feet and Babe 2, Big Pig in the City. As you mentioned, gone is Charlize Theron. In his Anya Taylor-Joy as Furiosa. Really liked her. We're going to talk about her in a moment. Obviously, Chris Hemsworth that is in this as Dr. Dementus. There's a bunch of people. There's Tom Burke doing his best Solid Snake impression as Patreon Jack.
Did you know Tom Burke before this?
No, did you?
No.
I really liked him in this.
Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah, he was
Cool, calm, collected.
Solid
cool as a cucumber.
Snake. Apparently, Hideo Kojima wants to put him as Solid Snake now.
He has that look.
He has the look.
Should have got him a bit younger, but...
And there's a bunch of people coming back. So we have all the returning dick jokes. We have returning Rictus Erectus, Rictus Scrotus. We have People Eater. He's back. And yeah, look, it's a cool cast. A few people couldn't return. So, for example, Immortan Joe, the actor actually died. So it was played by Lockie Hume, who's an Aussie. Aussie.
Wait.
Do you have what happens in this? Like, what's the vague plot of this?
Look, I mean, the high level plot. I mean, you basically more or less follow the origin story of Furiosa.
Okay, that's it. We're done.
Yeah,
that's the story, folks.
It is, to be fair, with a lot of stuff in between. But if you recall, in Mad Max Fury Road,
which was 9 years ago,
which I really don't. This is like way back in the storage unit.
Can you
I'm in
believe
cold
this
storage
is 9
right
years
now,
ago?
dude.
Right. This is like opening a cold case.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, but to correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, if you recall in Mad Max Fury Road, she makes an attempt to flee with all the wives.
Correct.
Either at the beginning of the movie. It's at the beginning, isn't it?
It's right at the beginning.
Yeah.
So she wants to take them to the green place?
Yeah, to take them to the green place, which, you know, I think we come to find out in that movie is where she's from.
Well, we find out in this movie where she's from.
Well, we definitely, but I'm wondering if we knew about that before. I think we did.
I think the green place was like a mythical thing.
Yes, but how did she know? Like, because she was from there.
How did she know?
Don't actually recall if she ever gets there, to be honest.
In the movie, she does not.
Yeah, but my point being, we follow how she eventually gets separated from her family in the Green Place and their little oasis in a situation that involves Chris Hemsworth played by or Dr. Dementis, played by Chris Hemsworth, where he's playing the leader of a Wasteland raider group that drives Harleys, and he's got like a little chariot that doesn't actually look like it would go that fast, but he's always leading.
Cool.
He's always leading the charge. Like the so oddly titled Dr. Dementis. Don't think he's a doctor. No, it doesn't have much. Nothing screams doctor about him.
We're going to talk about this, but I feel like at the beginning of this, he kind of has like a cult leader vibe. So maybe it's like a thing he made up to make himself sound.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's like obviously a through line for what he's like, what they're saying. Like, like enigmatic leaders can get a bunch of people. Right. Because he's not very smart, but that falls
to pieces quickly. Like calm, sort of like.
He's not calm. He's more like Hitler than anything. He's very like. We'll
talk about it. We'll talk about it. Anyway. Can I ask you a question then? So, of the original Mad Max movies, so we have Mad Max 1, we have The Road Warrior, we've got Beyond Thunderdome, we have Fury Road. Which of those have you seen?
Only Fury Road.
Only Fury Road. Okay, right. Because I have seen Beyond Thunderdome. Weirdly, another way around, and The Road Warrior years ago when I was way too young to watch those movies, and they are so different to these.
I feel like it would be worth watching.
Well, the first one is literally just set on Melbourne roads. they couldn't get like the roads like blocked off to film, so they just filmed on the roads in Melbourne, and like it's all set in there, and it's really weirdly like it doesn't have the same vibe. It's not like it's not even really what are we talking about? Apocalyptic movie. It's not. It's like just sort of a kind of movie about some dudes in Melbourne. It's really weird. Yeah, it feels like a biker gang in Melbourne are dressed up all funky.
I'm gonna go look at it now. This is just Mad Max.
It was just like super 80s, super low budget, but they made a shit ton of money. And kind of the idea of them sort of came about that because they didn't really follow on from each other, there wasn't really like a through line other than Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
That perhaps Mad Max was just like a myth, and it was in this wasteland, and everybody had their own version of the myth. So like that's why the movies were so wildly different one to the other. And I kind of like that. It's like
I didn't know that.
Telling around a campfire, but then even like when you get him switched out for Tom Hardy in Fury Road, that makes even more sense because it's that he is a myth. People don't really even know what he looks like. You know what I mean? So I think it's cool. I think it's a really interesting idea.
I agree. I didn't know that. Yeah. That's all news to me, that it was like kind of iterations of this same character. Well, it's beyond this one. Yeah.
That's just kind of how the movies evolved because so they're so different between them that people kind of came up with this like backstory kind of thing for itself. And obviously George Miller loves to build on it in interviews. Yeah. He's so fun in interviews. He'll say anything, that guy. He's great. I think the thing about this movie specifically though, that kind of I felt a bit let down by was that it removes a lot of that mythos from specifically the Fury Road world. But it's not a good or a bad thing. It was a thing, right?
Yeah.
It just kind of happened. It was very lore heavy, this movie. Did you think that? Like, it was like, this is exactly where the bullet farm is, and this is where the gas farm is. And...
Well, they kind of set up like the main, it was almost like the map at the beginning of the book.
Right. And I guess that's kind of one of the things that was interesting about it was that like Fury Road is this like enigma, and you feel disorientated all the time. You're like lost in the wasteland. Like, you take one step off the road, who the fuck knows where you are? Whereas with this, you just kind of felt like you were on one of the freeways.
Yeah, there's like a triangle.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like it was just a triangle of freeways. You're like, all right, I guess I'll jump back on the freeway and carry on, you know?
Yeah. So like even Mad Max 2 doesn't follow the storyline of Mad Max 1.
Not specifically, no.
Weird, but they still use Mel Gibson.
And there are certain ticks that follow through. Like, he has a limp from the first one. And like, there are certain things, but like, not in the way these two are literally.
These are very linked
from each other.
Yeah, these feel very linked.
Completely linked. And Fury Road was like, Fury Road was amazing, man.
I kind of want to rewatch it. I remember watching it being like, this was awesome, but like, I didn't get why it was so loved, but I enjoyed it.
I think because of all the practical effects in it. And that's something we're definitely going to talk about. So in the first 3 specifically, definitely, George Miller didn't have budget to do things, and CGI wasn't a thing in the 80s. So, and he didn't have budget to do stuff. So there were a ton of injuries and a ton of like stunt people just getting fucked up on the sets of these things. A lot of them actually returned for like Fury Road and maybe this one as well. But like, I think the reason why there was so much CGI in this one was because so many people got hurt on the original films.
Yeah.
I feel like Warner Brothers were like, guys,
no more of this.
Please, please stop with with all the lawsuits. You know,
fair enough.
Yeah. And
I mean, this guy is not like your average Joe, George Miller. You know where he's
your
from?
average Joe. I like that.
Yeah. You know where he's from?
No.
Chinchilla, Queensland. I fuck you not. Chinchilla. Dude, something's up with those guys up there.
That's the best part of this whole
what are
film.
they naming things? Chinchilla?
I don't,
Isn't that a like...
it's very Aussie to name something so
What is a
randomly.
chinchilla? Isn't that an
It's one of
animal?
those little ferrety things, isn't it?
Yeah, or like, is that what my...
It's Queensland is what it is.
Oh, it's a ferrety thing. I was
I
going to
think.
say, isn't that what my chia pet is?
You tell me.
Yeah, do you remember chia
What?
pets?
No.
You didn't have a chia pet.
What the hell is a chia pet?
Oh my god.
What's happening on
dude.
this
That's
podcast
such a
right
deep
now?
cut, dude. Chia pets, you had to like basically feed them or they would and clean up their poo. It was like this little digital pet.
We call them Tamagotchis.
Also a thing, which are
Is it
similar.
not the same?
I think they might be, yeah.
From like the late 1900s,
Like,
2000s?
why the hell would my dad, when I asked for that, must have been like, why the
What the fuck is that?
What the hell are you doing? Just want to clean up this fictional animal's poo.
Yeah, look, it's
All
like
right.
a little rodent. Like it's a little rodent thing.
Oh,
Chinchilla.
yeah, chinchilla.
There you go. That's where he's from. He's from this little rodent. He was
Side note.
born by this little rodent.
Yes.
But
Kind of looks like a chinchilla. Anyway,
wow.
moving on.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this movie is that it's actually doing pretty badly. I thought it was going to do really like the movies all the way through. Like they've not like the first three on such small budgets did really well because
Yeah.
of the small budgets. Whereas the last one had a pretty large budget. It didn't do that well. And people, but like I feel like it's the one that did so well on like streaming and like word of mouth. They kind of had to make a follow up. And this kind of got stuck in development hell for like 9 years.
Did it.
So apparently George Miller was in negotiations over some money he was owed for Fury Road, like a couple of $1 million or something. And it just stole the making of this film for 9 fucking years. So much so Charlize Theron like aged out of it.
I mean, for a couple mil, yeah.
I don't know.
You might want to get that.
I don't know. She wasn't that good.
No, I mean, George Miller. Like, if he's the one, yeah. If they owe you a couple $1 million,
Well, I mean,
fair enough,
If
dude.
someone had made a couple $1 million, I'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
hold up.
That's interesting. Like, I saw the results. What is it going to be like? Net even or something, or make a
Not
little
even.
bit of
It's
money?
going to make like, I think it was on cost to make like 40 million or something from a 160 million budget. So
It was 160.
it's high. Yeah.
Why do you spend that much?
Well, because, you know, big stars,
I mean,
big action sets, big
Yeah.
set pieces. Like, and the first one was like a sleeper hit. Like I say, Fury Road, people loved it. So the return on investment on these must have been big enough that they went, you know, let's try. But I guess for me, the thing that took like what let this down a little bit was that use of CGI. And I get it. Like, let's stop killing stuntmen. Once that we just talked about the Fall Guy, but it didn't quite have the same gravitas to it. Do you know what I mean? Like the first one, like you talking about it before, where you see the big action scenes where you've got like hundreds of cars driving down the same highway or even in the middle of the desert. Whereas this, at no point did it feel more than like a few cars.
It was more tame, but there's some cool like aerial stuff that they did.
I like that
pretty
too.
cool.
The action was pretty cool in it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it was less bombastic and more refined, the action. This like things that you might see in a Wasteland and Apocalypse, like the bit where they've got the big fans on their back and they're trying to fly up and land on the truck. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed the action a lot, but you're right. It's not as the scale felt smaller for sure.
Right. And for a bigger budget, you would kind of expect it to feel bigger again. No?
Yeah, maybe. I think the reality is they probably spent it all on those 3 actors.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Charlize, not
well,
Charlize
maybe
Theron,
just
the other one.
maybe just those 2. Yeah.
And maybe George Miller took his $2 million out of
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Put it in his back pocket right away.
Seriously.
But I like the world of this. Like the aesthetic of it is like really interesting and very different to like other Sand movies that we've been talking about. Dude,
Sand.
so different. We've talked about, why have we talked about so many goddamn Sand movies this year?
Man.
But it's very different. We've talked all of Anakin Skywalker's worst nightmares.
The Sandman.
Did we do an episode? Did we do an episode on that, or did we just talk about it?
Yes, I am the Sandman. Isn't that how he talks?
Yeah.
Why did he talk like that?
I don't know.
That definitely didn't get
Why
renewed,
are we
right?
talking about the Sandman?
Why did that definitely did not get renewed?
No.
If Netflix renewed that, I'd be so pissed. There's
Compared
so
to
many
other
things they
things you
can't.
could-
Like the Dark
Right.
Crystal, dude. I want that so bad.
You're so obsessed with the
Give
Dark
it
Crystal.
back. Anyway,
Do you even care
in
about
my
this movie?
dreams. Dude, no, I do care about this movie, but I do wonder a bit why it exists.
Right.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, it was cool, it was fun, fair enough.
Probably because the first one made money.
Like, but like, it didn't do, like, there wasn't a strong theme.
Right.
It's like vengeance is bad, or like
Bad for your
revenge is
soul.
not like fulfilling.
Right, but it kind of is.
But like they still did it.
Right, right. And I see exactly what you mean.
You know,
and
I just didn't know why it exists. Yeah.
I think when you take the bombasticness of the first one out of it and you don't give it any strong themes, like I like the characters in this. I thought some of the character moments were great.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. Taylor-Joy was fantastic in this, but it just kind of it lacked a bit of a soul.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I liked Chris Hemsworth too. I didn't
Let's
hate
talk
him.
about Chris Hemsworth.
I didn't hate him. I thought he was going to be donkey dick.
Right.
Like I thought he was
the
going to be
trailers made it look so bad.
But he was actually like, I enjoyed like
donkey dick.
I enjoyed
Jim sucks donkey dick.
Yeah, I did enjoy his like
American Pie.
Is it? I don't even remember. I did enjoy his whole like thing of being like this like orator.
Right.
Like I enjoyed that. And like him realizing like this is how I serve, like basically just being like, this is how you survive here and no one wants it, but I'm going to do the best I can to be this because this is what I am forced to be.
100%.
I loved that. And I did like his monologue at the end.
I didn't like the monologue.
did.
The final one was good, but the rest of it, like, because he had a lot of monologues in this where he'd stand up with his big microphone and I was like...
The intimate one, I mean.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The accent was a bit...
I don't know why you did it.
Weird. But I get it though. So like I was thinking about this and that accent doesn't really exist anymore, but it was very quintessentially 80s Australian. You know, that slightly high pitched one. And
is it?
He was talking about it in interviews and he was basically saying like, that's what his granddad sounded like. And the original stories are set like in the 80s. So like the bomb goes off and it's like the late 80s.
It's like the nasally Australian. It's basically the chinchilla accent.
Right.
That's what they sound like.
Chinchilla accent back, baby.
Yeah.
We watched a TV show that I'm going to talk to you about next week called something like Last Train to Larimer or something. It's about a town of 11 people in central Australia. And it is fucking so... And they all sound like that.
Yeah.
They all sound like this Chris Hemsworth character. We're going to talk about it another time. But the thing I did like about it was his sort of like transformation. So we talked about him he felt like a cult leader. He had the white shroud thing on him. He was trying to be all nicey. And then the moment shit starts going wrong, it all goes out the window. And he's just like, he is just a dog barking. And you immediately realize that about him. Yeah. And I like that. He sort of like just flipped.
No, it felt real. It felt like that character was like well imagined and like could have been any kind of general from some, you know what I mean?
Well, like it's interesting you say general because Immortan Joe, so like Immortan Joe comes back in this. We actually go back to the Citadel from Fury Road. We see a lot of it. He in the comics, I think, so it's like 4 like backup comics, the first one. He's actually a former military guy.
That makes sense.
Which makes so much sense. And so are his like generals. So they all like fit that mold.
Yeah.
Whereas you just feel like the Chris Hemsworth character is just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he was a tech guy and he was like, I've got an opportunity here.
It feels like he's the classic guy that's in too deep.
Right.
Not enough experience, like a lot of bravado.
Yeah,
bravado,
big time.
And kind of, is out of his depth. Which
really compelling though.
Yeah, which I enjoyed. So like again, like I enjoyed a lot of this. I enjoyed Anna Taylor. She's just like obviously was going to be good.
Yeah, she's great.
with the old cat eyes.
And another thing as well is little Furiosa.
Yes, the actress was good.
The actress who plays the kid version. Yes. Oh my god, she was so good.
No, she was really good. I feel like I've seen her before. What is? I'm gonna look it up right now. What else has she been in?
She's called Aliyah Brown.
No, I stand corrected.
She's not in anything significant.
She's in a lot of stuff, but not that I've seen.
Right. She is like spit for Anya Taylor-Joy as a kid.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, her eyes aren't as big.
I mean, no one's eyes or neck are as big as Anya Taylor-Joy's.
She's literally a cat.
She's half giraffe. The thing that did annoy me a little bit about this was, I keep making nepotism jokes about Marvel films because people keep having their wives and sons and daughters play roles in them. And guess whose wife is in this film? Take a wild guess.
Hemsworth.
Who brings his wife to every set he's on? Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, I mean, it's filmed in Australia.
She plays 2 roles.
2?
That's why, like, you know what? If she's in it, like, fair enough. Because, at the beginning, I'm
looking for her in the IMDb.
Yeah, right. So at the beginning, when they leave the green place, whatever it's called, she is the partner of Furiosa's mum, I think.
That's just, like, standing there.
Right. And does absolutely sod all. But then there's another character, a female character, who has, like, the lip thing. You know, she gets like
yeah,
right. So right. I thought there was going to be like a connection between those 2 characters. I even thought maybe it was the fact that she'd left the green place and she was lost in the wasteland, or she was trying to get Furiosa back. I thought there was going to be a connect there.
Nope.
But there was. It just sort of happens, and I'm like, we're going to talk about lost story threads later on, but keep that one in mind. So,
I mean, isn't she a model or something? She's like a pretty famous model, his wife.
I actually don't know.
I'm pretty sure, but I don't know her name. So
good for her. She's been shoehorned into every single movie that's ever happened that Chris Hemsworth's been in.
Yep.
I do think the movie was maybe a little bit too long.
It is.
Like it's over 2.5 hours.
I enjoyed it, but like
I kept peaking and troughing. I kept going, I'm enjoying this bit, and then I was like, it's more of this bit, and then I'll be, this bit, and then there's more of this.
Like to be that long, like I there were moments where I was like, I wish I could get a beer or something, but
right,
and at least just do something while I was watching, and because you're in the theater, you can't. Whereas like in Dune, I was like, I was in.
Right.
It's
same.
It's like,
and I'm old now. I need to pee all the time.
I like long movies if they're made by Denis Villeneuve. So like, I guess that's what I've decided. Because I'm like, I like long movies, but really, when do I like them? Like, only when he makes them.
Well, I don't know. Like, I feel like...
And the occasional Scorsese.
Yeah, I mean...
From 20 years ago.
Of course. Any Denis Villeneuve film, not the latest Scorsese film.
From 20 years ago.
On my flight back from... Yeah. Two funny things. On my flight back from Italy back to Australia, obviously we have these long 15-plus hour flights that we got to take. Two things. I saw one person sit and watch Killers of the Flower Moon.
No.
And on my life...
I would, by the end of that flight, you want the plane to crash.
On my life, this person watched the whole thing and finished it. They went back to the beginning and was skipping bits she'd clearly maybe like misunderstood.
And I was like, asleep, probably.
I was like, mate, just give it up. Like,
probably falling asleep.
You don't need to know that. And the other thing was my favorite person I will ever see flying, and this is a testament to how much I get up and walk around in airplanes. There was a person I saw who, as I went to the bathroom the first time, had just started watching the very first Aquaman film. And then the next time I got up to go to the bathroom, they were just finishing the second Aquaman film. So they watched both in a row.
Sorry, but I feel for the soul.
I was like, dude, but going back to the pacing of this, I just think like it was split into 5 sections, I think, the film. Didn't need it.
How many sections should it have been?
I mean... You can do 5 sections, but just cut some of the crap out in the middle.
Okay.
It's too long.
No, it is too long. I agree.
The pacing was...
But it's not like one of those movies where it's like that long and I hated it. No. So it's like...
it flirted the boundary of too long.
But I agree. I was getting anxious leg.
It felt like a 4-act
anxious
structure.
leg syndrome. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
And I could see that. You were literally twitching.
I was like, come on, dude. Let's get the fuck on with this.
Get to the
I know
end
how this ends.
already.
Actually, I don't really remember how it ends, but she's not going to get back. I know
she
that.
gets to the truck eventually. She gets to the truck eventually. But the action was good.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Like, we've talked a bit about the action, but there's a couple of bits that I thought would be worth bringing up. Like, obviously it was hampered by not being Fury Road, but like, I really, really liked the opening scene when they were leaving the green place. So
yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, to put some like framework around that. So Furiosa lives in the green place. Obviously, there's a bunch of people who live there. She's out picking fruit, whatever the fuck she's doing, and she notices some...
Furiosa!
Right. Very annoying children.
You've gone too far, Furiosa.
Please stop. You're giving me flashbacks. And then there's like some dudes there, and they're obviously from the biker gang, and they've killed a horse or something. And the idea is that no one can find this green place.
Yeah, we didn't give that premise.
I like that though. I like the idea of them being like so ferociously like loyal to this place. Like, we cannot let people find it.
Yeah.
And they kind of kidnap. Furiosa's so fucking dumb at that point. She tries to slash all their... Instead of just blowing her rape whistle, which she has from the beginning, she tries to slash their bikes. It must be
or
the
just
gas.
like run away. They're not going to leave anytime soon. They're obviously enjoying themselves.
Right. They're having
you know
a good
what
time.
I mean? Like, yeah.
Play your rape whistle, bring some friends over, use the gun you've got, and just kill them. Makes sense. Instead, she gets kidnapped, and her mom...
Movie over. Act 1, Act...
Well, we've shortened the film significantly at this point. But then there's an actually really cool chase scene through the desert where Furiosa's mom tries to like fight and get her back.
Catch up, and like she's like stopping with a sniper, taking him out on the top of dunes, then jumping back on the bike.
And she's like putting a bike together while she's doing it. It's
putting
super
a bike,
cool.
like getting the oil from the other one. Like, that actually is why I think I like this. They obviously put a lot of thought into the action sequences.
Sure.
And to be fair, we didn't get the big extravagant ones, but we got a lot of cool intimate chases.
Right. Sure.
That were like really unique, where like you could, and they put, one thing I liked a lot is like they put a lot of thought into like what it means to like go drive an off-road car or a bike at speed at a mountain, like, and it's dangerous.
Right.
Like, you'll see some people make it up the hill and some just like run out of juice because they didn't go fast enough and fall down. Like, they put all that, like, that's a very, very like subculture thing to add in.
Right.
They were obviously thinking about. And I think that
it was filmed in New South Wales. So of course you have to know how to go up sand dunes. We live in the desert.
100%. And also kill brown recluses. The point being, The point being, I think I liked that it was smaller in scale with the action. I didn't mind it because there was obviously thought put into like making that interesting and real.
Right. I completely agree with that. You know what I think actually? And let like if this had come out first and then they'd have made Fury Road, that is like the perfect escalation of those films.
Yeah, there's no real reason for it not to have.
Right.
You know how like some prequels are like, oh yeah, this could only be a prequel.
Right.
You know, like the whole point of this prequel is that I know the ending. And so like you're able to do things that make it really cool in the lead up to what you know what's coming. Rogue One. Or like, you know, even like the Revenge of the, or what is it? What is the one? The Revenge of the Sith? Is that the third one in the prequels for Star Wars? The only good one of the prequels.
Yes.
The one where you know Anakin's turning into Darth Vader. Like that is obviously something you don't make before because it's a big twist and there's all this interconnected stuff.
Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones.
Revenge of the Sith.
Something Sith.
Revenge of the Sith.
Something Dark Side.
Something Sith.
Sure.
Yeah. So
what's your point? Where are you going with it?
I don't know, dude. Sorry. It was
I got it.
I'm like this one. This one had no ties like that. You could have had this be the first one, Fury Road be the second one, and it would have been like, oh, that's a cool arc.
I don't think it did anything interesting enough with her character to warrant needing.
Yeah, and there was nothing to hide about her character in that happens in the next one to warrant it not being just a sequel.
I didn't find a character that interesting in the first one. Like she was good, and I think
she's kind of a small part.
I think the performance of Charlize Theron made it an amazing character. It's not because the character's interesting. It's because she is good.
Dude, she literally just drives a truck.
Right. But she's only got one arm. How did she only get one arm to? I guess we'll talk about it in spoilers.
We must investigate that with an entire movie.
But that's my problem with prequels, is when it's like there is this one thing.
It's not deep enough to really warrant that level of exploration. Whereas like the failure of Anakin and his like fall to the dark side is like that's my point.
Let's explore that. Whereas how did she lose an arm? I'm like, I don't really
And how did they make a robot arm?
Right.
When all they have is gas and dirt bikes.
It seemed to work by Neuralink. I was like, is Elon Musk still alive in this? Like, what's fucking happening?
She just like puts it in and then it just like works. I'm like, what?
No Furiosa. And there's a couple of other cool action scenes to call out very quickly. Obviously, the opening was great. There's some really good spectacle, like we talked about, where they have
the oil tanker race,
the chasing with the oil tanker, and there's different things, like they use the big fans. But the other one I wanted to mention was there is a scene where Dementus rocks up to the Citadel.
Yes.
And he's like, this is like what we were talking about before, the perfect definition of him being like, he's way out of his depth with this. Yeah. He like rocks up and he's like, I'm going to fuck you up. And then obviously Morton Joe's like, no. So like war boys just start throwing themselves at them, and like it's like kamikaze shit. That
was pretty cool,
so cool. And like
that one part where he's like, "Witness me!" You're like, that was pretty fucking cool.
So cool.
Yeah,
really like that, and like that type of thing. That's what would have been cool if this whole movie was a siege of the Citadel. That would have been sick.
It's a very different movie.
Very different movie, and they kind of tried to go a little bit that way with them, with how they went in terms of like what I keep getting his name wrong. Dementis gang did, but like in a different sense, and it didn't have the same gravity.
No, it was more like, welcome to the Wasteland. Here are the 3 cities.
Right.
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
Bullet Town, Oil Town, and the Citadel.
The Citadel.
Where do they get their food?
The Citadel.
Oh, that's where the food is? Yeah.
Because they've got water. So
they have the water.
And that's the whole point of the film. So it's like the trade routes between the three. It's the trade routes. We're back to the Star Wars prequels. It's about trade routes.
That was like trade negotiations.
For trade routes, I can't speak. Oh my God.
I literally multiple times in that movie was like, it's a trap. Like when he's like going into Bullet Town, I'm like, dude, there's no one there. It's a trap.
There were so many times with Furiosa, I was just like, dude, you're gonna die. Like, stop.
She's foolish, that little girl.
Yeah, she's young now, and I like that about this. So, what are your tones and themes for this before we move on?
Nothing that insightful. We've got man versus wild.
Yeah.
Revenge is best served cold. No, it's just not fulfilling.
Best served on sand.
Yeah, it's best served with a sandy mouth. The wild versus civilization. Man versus animal. Like, are you like an animal or are you like civilized? I don't know. What do you think?
No, I like all that. That's all up there.
Yeah,
I just had things like embracing your fury, which isn't really a theme.
Embracing your love of face paint.
Right.
You know at the little kids parties where they get the face paint.
I always have too much face paint on.
Yeah, like
embracing your robot arm.
Embrace that.
Right. Yeah.
Like, can you imagine if you're at the face paint party with your 3-year-old and they're all hanging, or 5-year-old because they're toddlers hanging out, get the face paint, and you just end up getting like the Mad Max face
big time.
like
I'm gonna
the War Boy face
time.
paint, dude.
Yeah. Oh, the War Boy.
With like the meth stain from having just done all the ice. Dude, that's how you make some friends in post adolescence.
I thought you were gonna say just like go for the black.
You want to make like family friend get together friends. That's how you do it.
All right.
All the kids are getting face paint. You go get the Joe. The meth addict.
The Molten Joe.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about this, but the whole sort of journey for Furiosa is to her becoming like a truck driver, right? That's the point of this. What do you think?
The culmination of career life in the Wasteland.
Decades of work.
Decades of working up the corporate
She's the
ladder.
Best truck driver.
Decades of working up the corporate ladder. She is now
the truck
driver. An automated, basically a job that's going to get automated by Elon Musk.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What are your 3 best and 3 worst, big guy?
Nothing really new here is. Oh, I started with worst. Whoops.
We can go worst if you want.
Yeah, nothing really new here.
Yes.
I'm not sure how I felt about Chris Hemsworth accent, but I did enjoy his performance, so I just kind of left that in that bucket.
I think the trailer kind of spoiled it for me because the trailer had the worst bits of his accent in it when he was most campy.
Yeah.
And when he stopped being camp and he was a little bit more like grounded, he was really good.
I agree.
But because that's what I was expecting for the whole film, and that's all I heard.
Yeah. I mean, when we first saw that, I was like, this is going to be so bad.
Right.
I agree with that. Some parts they kind of just like yada, yada, yada over, which...
Weird inconsistencies. I've got that too.
Well, it was just like, usually I can put these to bed, but I'm like, you can't just like, they just capture her as a child, Furiosa, in the Citadel. I was
going to save that for spoilers, but he literally.
And so she's like, this prized thing that he like negotiates as like a last minute negotiation item with Dr. Dementis. What's it?
Such a stupid name.
It's so dumb. And so she's like with the wives, like there's only like 8 of them.
Yeah.
Like,
and she just vanishes.
And she's like a pretty important part of that.
Yeah.
And then she just like walks down the hall, hides, and they're like, oh, she was able to do that for years. And she just finds a job in the Citadel. As like a union laborer.
Weird.
It didn't make sense. Like she was just hiding her pee for 10 years.
Weird inconsistencies. Yeah. I completely agree with that. Any more? Is that 3?
That was it. That was 3.
I've got the pacing was all over the place, the weird inconsistencies, and I just don't think it needs to be this prescriptive. Like, I liked that in Fury Road, the world was kind of ambiguous. You go off the path, like I talked about before, you go off the path, you're in a sandstorm, who knows where you are. Whereas this is like the road, it's there. Just go down the road. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't need that. What do you think your best were? I really liked Chris Hemsworth's like last monologue. Right. Where he basically, I'll save it for after spoilers, but that was like a really good sequence of scenes. I really liked the action and set pieces and the smaller scale of it and like how well it was thought out. And the art design was cool too, I guess. Okay, I like the world, so like kind of similar. Like the world they built here is super interesting, and it's not unique per se. Like no post-apocalyptic world really is at this point, but like it has unique elements that I really like. Young Furiosa, that whole opening scene, just phenomenal. The whole, the chase from the mother, the finding this big group, really, really well done, really well thought out. If that had been the movie, that level of intensity and that like level of detail would have been a fantastic movie. And I just really like this world. I think it's prime for Tom Hardy to come back 10 years later. He's a better actor now. Tom Hardy was apparently an absolute prick on the set of the first one. Why? He was a real like dick to Charlize Theron. They were always being kept in the dark about what they were doing. He was really rude to her. Wait, this is when he was super young, and apparently he was like... This is when he was like addicted to alcohol, probably. Very maybe. Yeah. And at one point, like she asked for like a security guard to, keep him in his box because she was a bigger star than him at this point, and I feel like maybe he wasn't having a good time on the filming set, and he apologized to her like publicly later on. So, oh wow, I think it's primed for him and her to come back. They'd be great to see them again. I forget how it ends. It ends. Next one. It ends. They go back to Citadel and they take the wives take over the Citadel basically, and they become like the leaders. And Tom Hardy like blends into the people and leaves. They offer him to stay and he doesn't. It's Mad Max. He's not going to fucking stay. Yeah, it feels like nothing else to say, to be honest. But can you guess for me the current IMDb score for this? High 7s, 7.7. Oh, it's 7.9. You were so close. I thought you were going to get it this time. Yeah, it's 7.9. Doing pretty good. Yeah. What do you think the Rotten Tomatoes is? 84. 90.
That's too.
People
Rotten Tomatoes is so
this right
weird,
now.
dude. It's like, yeah,
it's such a wild one. And then finally, Letterboxd. It's always 3.6, but it's never 3.6 out of 5.
3.7.
4. People are loving this.
Those that see it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's not. It's had an alright opening weekend. And then I guess we do our famous rating system, which is this better or worse than the most average movie of all time, which is Aquaman 2018 DL, and why?
It is better, largely because of the acting and the action.
It has the dry Thor in it. So Aquaman 2018 has wet Thor in it.
This is like,
and this has the dry Thor.
Sandy.
He's still shredded,
bollocks.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
He's definitely dropped a few kilos though.
I mean, but his arms are just so big.
So unimaginably big.
Yeah.
The human growth hormone clearly hasn't quite worn off yet.
Yeah. He's a good looking bloke.
Isn't it interesting that he had that diagnosis?
Why do you have the nose on?
Damn,
we didn't even talk about that.
The nose was so annoying.
So weird.
Just an odd prosthetic nose.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like a thing. He was going to have it broken at some point or whatever. Because it was so prominent.
Yeah.
I was like, there must be a point to this.
Yeah, there wasn't.
No. But you know when he said recently he was going to take a break from making as many movies and he just hasn't? Like, he's still churning them out.
Yeah, I mean, but like he was making, I think you underestimate how many he was making before. Because there's a bunch of ones that you just didn't see because they were not good.
On Netflix?
Yeah.
Like Extraction?
No, the Extraction one, honestly, is such a fun action movie.
I enjoyed it.
The first one that it's like, I actually thought it was fun. But there's like Spider something. There was one where he was like a hacker.
Oh,
there was
I remember
there was like
that.
a bunch of like really crappy action movies that he made in like 2 or 3 years.
Getting paid?
And no one watched any of them.
I mean, it's Netflix. Nobody watches that
Yeah.
shit. Perfect. All right, then. Spoilers?
Sure.
Wait, it's better, isn't it? It's better than Aquaman 2018.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, okay, all right. Cool. Spoilers. I was going to talk about the Furiosa disappearing thing because, like, how did she disappear? If somebody can tell me that in the comments, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, there's no explanation.
She
They literally just yada
wore
yada.
a wrap around her head. And
Yeah.
She was a different person.
And just like peed for
Yeah.
10 years straight in isolation. No one ever questioned it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess the main
And she-
story of this then is kind of twofold, but like kind of how she loses her arm. And now this is one of those
Is that what
bits-
we boil the story down to? It's just
Yeah,
like,
a little bit. I mean, it's a revenge story, but like the key point of this is how the fuck did she lose the arm? Now, interestingly, this was a bit of one of those. This is one of those things where it's for me. It's twofold.
Yes.
I feel like there may have been a storyline cut here because there is it's made very clear that on one of her arms when she's separated from her mum, she's you need to look at the stars and find your way back, and she's creating like a map of the stars on her arm as a tattoo. And I thought that was going to be like, I thought someone was going to realize what that was because the whole point was stay away from the green place. And if they can't take over the Citadel, I thought perhaps old mate Chris Hemsworth was going to be like, oh shit, this is how we get back, chop the arm off and carry on.
Yeah.
I thought that's what it was. And there was a dude who had a big fucking machete in the whole way through the film. He was stood next to her the whole time. I was like, this is like Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
Like,
get your machete.
Get your machete out. And then it just she just had it kind of mangled.
I think maybe it was like a misdirection.
Yes. And it's
But
red
like,
herring.
but like, does she then not, was it the arm that had the
Yes.
thing on it? So like, maybe the point is then she also can't get back home. Like, it's like she doesn't know for sure how.
Completely agreed.
Yeah.
Or okay, all right. Well, let's think about it a different way then. Maybe Chris Hemsworth realizes what it is, realizes who she is, and goes to get the arm so he can.
And then she cuts it off.
She cuts her arm.
It's a better way to do it.
There's so many more ways.
Well, I mean,
to
that
do
really
this.
wouldn't help though. Then he would just take her arm.
Well, burn it some shit. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
just get rid of
Yeah.
it somehow. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I understand your point. Yeah.
Like, there was a bit where there was molten fucking.
You
lava
could
all over
have
the
tied
floor.
things up in a better bow.
Right.
Yes.
And this is where I think that maybe the 9 years of rewrites and script changes and cuts and stuff maybe didn't help this.
Well, yeah, and then sometimes you just
Maybe.
sometimes after that long,
Yeah,
you get
right.
so engrossed
Maybe
in
it's
it, you just
overcooked.
miss some dumb things, you know? Like
Right.
you need another eye on it.
You're just too close to the script. I
Yeah.
completely with that.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a lack of a payoff to certain bits, which I kind of was a little bit hard on, but you know, like I kind of liked it in the end. So this is the flip side of that. I kind of liked that it was just like, I don't know, like crushed off. Kind of showed the randomness of the world, and like she obviously ripped her arm off.
Well, there was still a
partly.
pretty like agency moment where she
clearly partly ripped her own arm off to escape the Dementis' crew. And I kind of liked that. It showed the randomness of the world and how, you know, like terrifying it kind of was.
and how badass she is.
How badass she is, absolutely. And I guess then it becomes a revenge story. Like that's the whole point of it. She kind of joins Immortan Joe because he he has the capability of taking down Dementus and finding him. And as his crew is getting more scattered, what did you think of the whole him trying to take over the different places? Like, he obviously takes over Gastown first, Dementus.
Yeah.
I kind of like that idea.
I mean, if you're going to show the cities, then you need to use that.
really, really want to show those cities.
Then you got to use it. And I think they used it. Yeah, I thought it was good.
I liked they took over Gastown, but he couldn't run it. I like how like incapable he was.
He's just out of his depth. And then he
so far out of his
he's
depth.
like blaming the other people as they come there, and he's like, "But we need to talk, bro."
Yeah.
He's like, "We need to have a meeting of the warlords. They're about to kill me." Like,
and so they fucking should.
Yeah,
I like that. And then I like the switcheroo with the Bullet Town as well.
Yeah,
he's gone and killed everyone there too. It's interesting. It was good, and I quite like the final fight scene where it's just Furiosa in the desert tracking him down. My only thought on that was like, she takes this car. She's only got so much gas in the car, and she's absolutely tearing it after these guys. She's not getting back from that. She's just lost in the wasteland. Right?
I don't know how much gas she has. Maybe
maybe she's got more gas in the car.
I don't know.
I just felt like it was a bit like, oh my god, just like, let's have it a bit smaller.
I did think that car she was driving
shit.
Was like, surely there's something better.
None of the wasteland.
The one with the back all up.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like it's like
been
sat
video
on by, a giant. I don't know.
So she captures him in the end, right? And
yeah. That was a cool sequence as well.
The bit with the ending where he's like a tree or something.
Ooh, that was gnarly. Dude.
That was all right.
Yeah, that was pretty gnarly. Ooh.
Kind of interesting.
Gross.
I suppose the spoiler things.
Well, that was the seed, right? She used the seed.
Yeah,
that she
kept the whole way through. But
yeah.
I thought, did she have two seeds? Because one of them became a tree. But one of them became a tree in the Citadel.
Yes. Well, that's the one that was him, right?
No. Right. But when she lost her wig, when she cut her own hair off.
Oh no, it just grew. There was a plant that
tree grew.
There was
the wig grew.
No, there was a weed that grew
into her hair,
and the seed was still in it.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Cool. Like, yeah, it was all right. Maybe that needed a bit more flavor.
I mean,
maybe over the 2.5 hours they could have done a bit more.
I was also just like, why are you chewing on the seed? Like, if it means this much, do you stop eating it?
Surely it's dead by that point.
Why did she do that? She kept putting it in her mouth. I was like, that's kind of gross.
She's an odd being.
Yeah.
The other thing that I didn't really love in this, I'm going to be quite perfectly honest, was Mad Max is in this. He's not, but he is. So there's a shot of Mad Max.
I thought so.
From the video game. Yes. So the video game was originally going to be tied to the Fury Road movie.
Yeah.
And then the Fury Road movie went a completely different direction, but they made it anyway. And apparently it's really good. There's one shot which is pretty much ripped directly from that game. Very cool. But
it's also ripped from the movie. It's the start of the movie.
Is it the start of the movie?
Yeah.
I completely forgot that. But Patreon Jack, who we were talking about, who is a dead spit for Solid Snake, he's just Mad Max in this. He has all the characteristics of Mad Max. He even has the same fucking outfit as Mad Max.
Yeah, he kind of is.
It looks exactly the same. The love angle between those two, I didn't love it.
Well, I don't think you can call it that.
What do you call it then?
It's a relationship. Like someone who's like
the only person who's been nice to her?
Yeah. They didn't kiss. They didn't show any signs of intimacy other than like caring about each other's outcome.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think it was love.
He just felt a bit crowbarred into me. Like, what's his motivation? Why is he nice to her?
No, just because she was pretty good in that situation, and he needed a new crew because his entire crew died.
I feel like he was waiting for her to take that role. I feel like he was grooming her.
That in a post-apocalyptic world could be the case. I'm not gonna say it wasn't.
There's a lot of weird shit happening.
Yeah, I mean, but she's survived worse at this point.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't know. There's not a hell of a lot more to spoil. Anything else?
Yeah. No. I think that's it, man. I think we talked this one to its core.
Okay, well, where does it go next then? Do you think they stick with this?
I think it's got to be
Wasteland?
done, or it'll be like a remake of. I think it'll just be like another.
I think they could do a new Max. Either bring Tom Hardy back and do a new story with him.
Dude? The story is kind of getting.
But that's the point. Like, if you watch the original 3, it's just him sort of stumbling into a situation that he's not really prepared for, and sort of helping people to try and get out of the situation.
I guess
that's literally it. And like, it's compelling. It's just like you can find compelling.
I gotta watch the first ones and rewatch the. I think this world is cool. Maybe I'm like okay with this movie because it's been like 10 years between them. But if they start making something like this like every 4 or 5, I'd be over it, dude.
Yeah,
it's not that much going on.
Probably too many.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do a bit of trivia, true or false. You want to do a bit of trivia, true?
Yeah, you know.
Do it. Trivia, true, trivia, false, DL. Anya Taylor-Joy doesn't actually have a driving license, despite doing all of the driving scenes in this movie. Is that true or is it false?
I got to imagine she has a driving license. True.
It's actually
false.
It's actually true. Despite learning to do a J-turn for this film on the first day of stunt school, she can't actually drive in the real world. When the
what a
apocalypse
level
happened,
of privilege. You got a coach?
yeah, she gets literally coached. Surely she's got a driver's license now.
I don't know.
Like she can fucking drive. We've seen her do it.
Well,
Saying that, it could be a stunt double.
yeah.
It's a very good point.
Also, it's like different than like driving on,
Nah, it's the same.
in the public.
What are you talking about? All the roads around here are exactly the same. She lives in New South Wales, surely. All right. True, trivia, false DL. Mel Gibson was slated to return with a slightly different role to Mad Max this time as History Man. Is that true or is that false?
True.
That's false. This is the one I made up. You fell into my trap.
I wanted it to be true.
No, you didn't. He's too anti-Semitic. We don't want want bad blokes back in his movies.
He's back in movies though. Like it's not that they wouldn't have done it because of that.
I don't. All right. True or false DL?
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth revealed that Dementis' voice came from a combination of a carnival baker and his own grandfather. Is that true or is that false?
True.
I said it to you in the actual bloody podcast. God damn it, I've ruined my own trivia true or false. All right, and finally, trivia true, trivia false. Patreon Jack mentions his parents were part of an organization trying to maintain law and order as society fell. True, false.
True.
It is true, and it is actually a reference to the very first Mad Max movie. So in the first Mad Max movie, he's actually called Max Rock. Let me get this right. Rockantansky. And he is part of what they call the main force patrol. So effectively the first one, there is some semblances of civilization left over, and he's basically like a policeman, and he's trying to like keep some sort of semblance of society going by being the police. Yeah. And they even gave him his iconic car, which I really actually quite liked about this.
Love that.
Ultimately, I had a really good time in this movie. There are flaws to it. I'd suggest going and seeing it. It's got a lot of bombastic action. It's fun. It's not the first one. It's its own thing, but it was fun. It was good to be back in the
it was
good
enjoyable.
To be back with you, my man.
It was enjoyable. You as well. I enjoyed it.
And next week, it's our 150th episode.
Ooh, big things coming. What will we do?
Do you want to wrap up the show, Dio?
Of course I do. And this week, how am I going to wrap it up? I don't remember what I'm supposed to say.
You've clearly lost your notes. You're like,
I was like, oh,
fuck, how do I wrap this up?
I'm in the template. No, I know what to say.
I screwed up last week. I was trying to do it, and I don't have it in my notes. So I just had to like
rogue
hope for the best.
Yeah, a big thank you to Matthew Bliss for editing and mastering this week's episode. If you'd like Matt to be a part of your podcast,
why wouldn't you?
Get in touch on business@mbpod or head to mbpod.com to find out more about his services. If you want to hear his work, listen to Coffee with a Podcaster, short thought pieces on topics of podcasting shared over a nice cup of joe.
Fabulous. Just what I need. I need people telling me about podcasting because I clearly don't know anything about it.
Yeah, you need help. I agree. As a friend, I'm here to tell you.
We'll do better, we promise. All right, Matt. Thanks for sticking with it, dude.
Thank you.
Thank you, DL.
No, thank you, Tommy. Next time, next time, Tally Ho. Why did I say my own name? Next time,
DL out.
Tally Ho, DL out.
Latest, Kaden.